The Oklahoma Sooners will face the Houston Cougars in non-conference play. We've had a little bit of a history with those Cougars, and one Willie Fritz we'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Week 2 of the 2024 college football season, the Oklahoma Sooners will face the Houston Cougars. This was a game that kind of replaces your Georgia game that was going to be on the non-conference schedule and no longer. But I think it's an intriguing matchup against a Willie Fritz team that is going to be well coached and a program that will have good discipline about it. Let's not forget 2020. Was it 2020 when Tulane came to town? Or I guess it was 2019 when Tulane came. No, 2021. 2021.
Yeah, it was 21. It was 21.
Sorry.
Yeah.
2021.
21 and 22.
Tulane comes to town with Willie Fritz. The Oklahoma Sooners actually built a pretty big lead in that game, even after Spencer Rattler throws the interception on the opening drive of the game. But Sooners have to kind of hold on in that one as the Green Wave really gave them a scare to start the season. So we know Willie Fritz is going to be he's going to have his team prepared for an Oklahoma Sooners team that has an offensive line that's turning over and a quarterback that is getting his feet wet for the first time as a starter. So, Jay, as you look ahead at this game, what are you thinking? What do you think are going to be some of the big storylines that week?
I think the big thing is it'll be coming off of Jackson Arnold's first game, right? Playing against Temple. And so we'll have an idea of what he's going to be, because if you go look at the Arkansas State game last season, right? He got in there, he went 11 for 11, got to get some balls out there. But Dylan Gabriel looked really good in that game, in a game that he was supposed to look dominant in. And so if Jackson Arnold walks out there and is as dominant in that game as you would expect a guy to be in a game that you're supposed to be dominant in, the talk is going to be going to this one, but okay, when things possibly turn up, what is it going to look like? Because the good thing for Houston is they have a lot of veteran presence, right? We went through and looked. They've got a lot of transfers in the redshirt junior, redshirt senior, or super senior range. And so Willie's got a lot of experience he's going to be working with. The question is can he dumb down his system enough for them to be ready to play in this game, right? That's where the challenge is going to come in for them. And so I anticipate, one of the bigger storylines is who's going to do better, Donovan Smith or Jackson Arnold. We know who it is, but Donovan's got a chance to redeem himself again. We'll see kind of looks like, because hey, he ain't had a last good couple of seasons since he's been left Texas Tech. We'll see if he can redeem himself at this point, but I think Willie's going to be going, this is rebuild year for them. So for them, it's all about just competing. As long as they're competitive to themselves, they'll be prepared to go into next season, right?
And let's not forget, this is a Houston team. Now, not the same exact team, but this is a Houston team that nearly upset Texas last year. Like
it
that,
is.
They had Texas kind of right where they wanted them. On the road. Yeah, they were
full Nelson and everything.
It was not going well. Oklahoma fans were waiting with bated breath as that game was finishing up, and Texas was able to pull one out. But Donovan Smith, man, I still go back to Donovan Smith, and I've kind of been a fan of his for a long time. I know he's not the best quarterback. I know he's not the most accurate passer, but there's just something in his mental makeup that I think makes him an intriguing quarterback. And when he went to Houston, I thought, oh man, that's a big time pickup for them. It just didn't really materialize for them last year. But I think, another year to get comfortable with the Cougars, I think he can cause you to have some trouble because he's a dual threat quarterback. He's a big guy. He's physical. And so as we've seen at different times over the last few years, Oklahoma can have some trouble with athletic and mobile quarterbacks. I don't think they'll have a ton of trouble with Donovan Smith. But again, this kind of sets the stage a little bit, though, for playing a guy like Lenora Sellers, coming out of the Texas game when you face South Carolina at home. This will kind of give you your read on what you need to be better at against the read option, against some of the quarterback run design stuff. I think it is important on that front to see how this defense plays against a guy like Donovan Smith, because you'll play Lenora Sellers, you'll play Jalen Milroe later in the season. Jackson Dart's a pretty good athlete as well. So you're going to have some guys that are going to make you pay in the run game, quarterback run game, if you're not paying attention to them. Just a couple more notes here on Houston before we wrap up here on Locked On Sooners. Come in the SP Plus rankings over at ESPN, 79th overall in SP Plus ratings. That's after the transfer portal window. So all the talent, all of the things factored in, the analytical approach, not considered one of the better teams in the country. And then as far as returning production goes, also, again, not a lot of returning production for the Houston Cougars, coming in at number 72, 72nd on offense and 50th on defense. But again, a lot of this is going to be a very experienced team, as Jay mentioned. But I think this is going to be one of those games that Oklahoma, again, handles pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The big thing that helps Oklahoma in this scenario is that as much as we think Houston's going to be super competitive in this, they've got a lot of things that they've got to figure out, right? Like I said, new coach, right? The thing that helps, even when your team is bad, if you've got continuity from your coach, players are still going to play hard enough, right? Yep. In this situation, we ain't got that. And Willie does a really good job of getting his players to turn up and play hard. I mean, he's going to probably take this job. Yeah, right. He's going to take this job and he's going to lead this into another bigger program at some point. But it's going to take him a year or two to really establish it. Kind of like we were talking about, like LSU going against USC at the beginning of the season. Big thing for them is that whole new defensive staff. It's going to take them some time to figure out how they're going to use the dudes properly in actual game scenarios, right? Practice is cool, but until you get to an actual scenario, you're going to have a lot of questions. And that's what Houston's going to be dealing with just for this season. I think next season, though, Willie's going to have that team turned around, and they're going to be competitive in the Big 12. Right now, Phil still has them as dead last. I think that's kind of accurate for now. But next season could be painful for everybody in that conference.
Yeah, Willie Fritz is a pretty solid recruiter. He's going to get some guys in there that are going to be able to play above their star ranking as well. One final note on the roster. Former Oklahoma Sooner turned USC Trojan, Littrell McCutcheon is projected to start at cornerback for OU. So it wouldn't be too terribly surprising to see some guys want to go make some plays against that guy. Jalil Farouk, I think, probably the only dude on offense still here from that time period when all the drama went down, and he's like, though. Anyway, so
yeah, I was wondering who had been left at that point. Yeah. I couldn't even remember who was left on the team
from 2021. The only guys that are really here are Farouk, Downs, Stutzman, Bowman. Offensively, you don't really have anybody else that were, but you're going to have guys that like Josh Bates, I bet, remembers all the drama that surrounded that whole thing, because he was the one guy that was committed. He was the first commit in the 2024 cycle to Oklahoma that stayed committed. 2023 cycle that stayed committed throughout that whole process, when guys like Malachi Nelson and Mekhi Lemon and all those started flipping and all that. Luke Haas and everybody just kind of turned on the Sooners. Josh Bates stayed. Yeah. So good chance that he remembers all of the social media drama that went on surrounding Littrell McCutcheon. But who knows if that'll be on anybody's mind when that game goes on. It'll be on Sooner fans' mind, at least. Looking forward to see Jaden Gibson go up against one Mr. McCutcheon. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Also, go check out the Locked On Sooners Insider Program by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. That's SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711. You'll get 25% off your first month. That's where we're going to go in and we're going to break down some prospects. We're going to answer your questions, do Q&As for you, the Locked On Sooners Insider. Again, that's 405-817-6711. Follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports, myself at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social media platforms. Again, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time, we're going to start talking wide receivers. Who's going to be the breakout? How many 800-yard receivers will Oklahoma have in 2024? My guess is a lot. But we'll discuss that on our next episode of Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're tuned in with us every single day. But for Jay Smith, I'm John Williams. We'll catch you next time. Boomer
Sooner.